there, welcome to another episode of Anatomical Gangster, where we dive deep into the fascinating world of health, wellness, and the science behind our bodies. I'm your host, Sue Hitzman. If you're new to the podcast, please subscribe below, share it with your friends, and of course, ask questions to me after you watch an episode. Let's keep learning how to live a more abundant life together. Today on Anatomical Gangster, we are talking about water quality. How often do you think about the quality of your drinking water? Do you ever question the clarity of what you're consuming every day? Turns out our water sources today face more contamination from industrial and agricultural pollutants than at any other time in history, with aging infrastructure only adding to the problem, and things like arsenic that are in some areas, like here in Naples, Florida, highlights the need for advanced filtration methods due to ongoing environmental changes. Here's a couple of staggering statistics. Globally, about 2 billion people use a drinking water that is contaminated with feces, and 785 million people lack access to basic drinking water services. Now, here's a big thing. Contaminants like microplastics, which is a huge topic for a lot of people, are now found in 83% of global tap water. So it's a worldwide challenge. So what steps do you take to ensure water safety? Well, today we're going to dive into the deep end of water quality and explore how contaminations impact your health and what we can do about it. I'm thrilled to be having a conversation with Jay Hare, who is the CEO of AlkaViva. He's a leading expert in water ionization. He's dedicated his career to helping people achieve optimal health through better hydration. And he's a competitive cyclist, and he's a wellness advocate, and he brings a wealth of knowledge and practical tips to everybody that's listening today. In this episode, we're exploring the science behind alkaline and ionized water, its benefits, how it can transform your health, and we're also going to discuss Jay's journey with AlkaViva and his passion for cycling and his top tips for staying hydrated and healthy. So grab a glass of clean water and get ready to learn from the amazing Jay Hare. I hope you enjoy the conversation. Jay, thank you again so much for coming on Anatomical Gangster. In the lead-in, I was talking about the damage and the breakdown of our water quality and the drinking water. And one of the statistics I had said was that about 2 billion people use drinking water sources that are contaminated with feces, and that even down here in Naples, Florida, there's a serious problem here with our water. There's arsenic in our water, and all sorts of other just not great things. And so, of course, I've used AlkaViva for, I guess, about 7 years. I got mine from you in my New York apartment. And then down here, I also have another one. So let's maybe start with a little bit about your background with AlkaViva. I know you started with them. You're now the CEO, and just kind of the development of these filtration systems in general.
Oh, sure. Thanks, Sue, for that lead in. AlkaViva has been around. We've gone through a few branding changes, but we started business in 2003 as the original importer of this technology from Asia, where it's been around for 45 years. And there's been a lot of research and documentation done by actually governmental organizations, the Japanese Ministry of Health, the Korean FDA. The Asians, just as a culture, tend to be a little bit more proactive about health, right? They'd rather spend their time and money trying to stay healthy rather than get healthy after they get sick, which is a harder equation anyway. So
yeah, of course. Yeah. Proactive versus reactive, right?
yeah. So the AlkaViva brand, really, we launched that. We've been in the business for probably 10 years at the point that we rebranded as AlkaViva, and that coincided with the launch of our own proprietary filtration technology, which was 3 years in research and development and $500,000 in R&D and testing. And so we developed a filter. What we recognized about alkaline ionized hydrogen rich water is that what good is it drinking those beneficial properties if you're also drinking arsenic or chromium-6 or lead or, any of the other microplastics, glyphosate. I mean, the chemical du jour, right? Like every
Mhm.
week it seems, or month, there's a different thing tainting the water. And so we called that at the time the dirty little secret about ionized water, was that you could drink water that has been electrochemically transformed through, basically, that sounds kind of scary, electrochemically. It's electrolysis. These machines are electrolysis devices, and they have a unique specialized membrane which allow us to change and control various properties in the water that are all measurable. And some of those properties are the alkalinity, the pH, the electrical properties in the water, or ionization loosely. Um, and then this new thing, which we were completely unaware of, called molecular hydrogen, which the first time I heard that, I was like, I didn't like the whole science thing, but that's a really interesting component, because when I started with my former partner, David Forsyth, who founded the company in 2003, I started with him in 2005, became a partner in 2006. And we knew that the water, when somebody who's, especially somebody who's at all sensitive to their body and how different things interact with their body and affect their physiology. When people like that drink the water, virtually 100% of the time, they can feel and notice these physiological changes, right? And
Definitely.
some of them, like when I first started, within a month, I'm like, what is this stuff? Like snake oil? It seemed like it affected so many different conditions, arthritis, asthma, allergies, autism, acid reflux. It
Mhm.
just seemed like whatever ailed you, we got a wrench to fit your nut kind of thing. And then in 2014, we became aware of this molecular hydrogen. And at that time, this is 10 years ago, plus, there were 350 peer-reviewed studies that had been published on PubMed and everywhere. And you can just go to PubMed and type it in, and you'll find all this stuff, documenting therapeutic benefit in over 135 different disease models and health conditions. And when I found this out, I'm like, allergies, asthma, arthritis, yeah, arthritis, rheumatoid, even human study, you know, acid reflux, all these things that we'd seen anecdotally over the years now had all this science to back up what the mechanism of action was that was causing these physiological changes. So, we just thought, goodness, you got to have, for water to be truly healthy, right? People buy these products like you're drinking out of, that we sell, um, to get the healthy properties of the transformed water. But you also got to have clean water. Water's got to be clean first before it can be healthy, right?
Yeah, that's huge. Actually, you're saying a few things. Like I had COVID, when COVID first became a thing, I remember hearing about it, and then one day bending over, and my head had this weird feeling. I went, "Oh my gosh, I have COVID!" Like I knew right away, and I thought, I usually on my my filtration system, I usually use a 2 or a 3. I was like, I'm going to use a 5. And so I went right up to a 5. And I remember almost feeling like I had the chills, like I was going to get really, really sick. And then it was like, it just sort of dissipated over those first number of days. And I just thought, yeah, it was almost like whatever the alkalizing water was doing was helping to push it out of my body. And I really do think that using the alkalized water was one of the key reasons that I didn't have prolonged sickness. So I definitely know, like just how you said, that you can actually feel a difference. And I want to go back, because you've said 4 words and I want you to talk a little bit about it. What are the key differences between alkaline water, ionized water, hydrogen water. You said all three, and then regular tap water, and how the differences impact our health.
That's a great, we could spend the whole hour on that,
Yeah.
but I'll distill it as best I can. So tap water, most people would think tap water, oh, it must be around neutral or something. Tap water can vary from a super low of like 4 or 5 pH, like Vancouver, British Columbia, their tap water comes out super acidic, to a high of like I've been places and tested the tap water at like 9+ pH, right?
Wow.
A lot of the bigger providers, like the municipalities or county or the private providers, will actually buffer the water to get it into the 7 pH range. 7 is neutral on the pH scale. Acidic water will actually damage the pipes. The higher pHs tend to be hard water, and those will coat the pipes with scale, right? So the treatment providers, that the people that provide us treated water, they want to keep it around 7. But you can take tap water, you can take and run it through a filter, you can take purified water, and you can dump a tablespoon of baking soda into it, and you can make it alkaline, right? So alkaline by itself, is a property that a lot of people are after in their water. But there's a huge difference between just alkaline water, like the water with a tablespoon of baking soda, and alkaline ionized water from one of these electrolysis devices, where we take the natural electrical property in water. Water is oxidizing. What that means is causes rust. Rust is oxidation, right? You put a penny, a nail, and a paper clip in a glass of tap water, and you let it sit there for a month, and you come back and there'll be orange stuff at the bottom. That's oxidation, right? So oxidation happens in our bodies. And so the original thought with ionized water was that the property, once you take oxidizing water and lower the electrical energy from a high positive to a low negative, that water becomes antioxidizing, right? And I could probably go grab it if I wanted to leave my office real quick, but we have 2 little mason jars, one with alkaline ionized water and one with a penny and nail. They both have a penny and nail and a paper clip, and they were put together at the same time, one with tap water, one with alkaline ionized. And shake them up. The one with alkaline water is totally clear. There's no rust. The one with the other stuff has all this rust in it, right? So then, and that's all the info we had for years, was alkaline ionized. And then in 2014, 10 years into my career in this, all of a sudden there's all this information on hydrogen, right? So
Right.
similar to taking tap water or purified water, putting baking soda into it, that gives you alkaline water. It does not give you ionized water, right? You can have alkaline and ionized water, but with no molecular hydrogen. Molecular hydrogen is a gas, and so it gets dissolved into the water. And when you drink water with that dissolved gas in it, the molecular hydrogen's an interesting, element. It's number 1 on the periodic table, so it's the smallest atom, right? And a molecule of hydrogen, molecular hydrogen, diatomic hydrogen, is 2 hydrogens atoms. So it's the smallest molecule. It's so small, it penetrates the blood-brain barrier. It gets into subcellular compartments like the mitochondria. It affects everything.
So could it actually also affect then oxidative stress in the body as hydrogen?
100%. And
Hydrogen water.
this is really cool. How that works, it's super simple. I slept through every science class I ever had, but I love this stuff because it has like it's applicable to me and my life and my body, right? So an oxygen radical is the most damaging kind of free radical in the body. It's the one that gets in and does damage to DNA and, mitochondria and stuff like that. So that's why antioxidants are such a big deal in health right now, and there's the antioxidant du jour, like, one month it's goji berries, the next it's blueberries or blackberries, the next it's red cherries, there's all these things. Well, most people don't know that those type of antioxidants are indiscriminate, and oxidation is a natural process in the body. So there's natural oxidation, and then there's environmental oxidation, oxidative stress. You don't want the environmental kind. The natural kind is okay. It's what helps decay dying and dead cells in our bodies and things like that, right? So molecular hydrogen actually bonds with the oxygen radical. So you got the oxygen radical and then two little hydrogens, and they bond together. Guess what that forms? H2O. It takes something damaging, the oxygen radical, bonds it with the two hydrogens and turns it into something good inside your cell. Water, right? So it's a double, there's a double whammy. This would be a double goodie, right?
Yeah, I mean, your body's got to break down a water molecule no matter what you do, right? So better to have the good water in your body so that you're moving it, right?
Yeah, that actually increases that process of antioxidation, and it's what they call a selective. If you read all that research out there, it's what they call a selective antioxidant. It only neutralizes the bad radicals, not the good ones that your body, like your body produces them as part of its biology. And you don't want, like a blueberry or whatever, the antioxidant du jour, it will neutralize every radical in your body, the good ones and the bad ones.
Interesting.
So selective antioxidant, that's why scientists, if you read the research, they call it a novel antioxidant because of this selective nature of hydrogen to only bond or neutralize the oxygen radicals, the damaging ones. Yeah.
So are there, I mean, I'm sure that there's a lot of misconceptions about ionized water, alkalized water, that maybe people think it's something else. I've even heard people say, oh, you don't want to be drinking a lot of alkalized water all the time. Like you'll break down your own molecular structure in your body. And I'm like, I don't know. It doesn't sound right.
Body is alkaline by design. The
Right.
hormone systems, the blood is slightly alkaline, standard blood or healthy blood is 7.365, so slightly alkaline. There's tons of things that are pH dependent in the body on both sides. On the acidic side, obviously, like the gut, that's another common misperception is people like, oh, doesn't that neutralize the gut, acid? Like, no. This is weakly, what's known in chemistry as weakly buffered water. It's not a strong buffer, and it has almost no effect on that at all. But the misconceptions really run, like if you just go Google, alkaline water, back to what I was saying, you can just make alkaline water alkaline by just adding bicarbonate or alkaline minerals, or just dump a bunch of calcium or magnesium into water, and boom, now you got alkaline water.
Right.
Doesn't have all those other properties. And unfortunately, in the journalistic world, because alkaline water has a lot of buzz and a lot of interest, there's a group of, and you can see it, and they're on reputable websites. The Wall Street Journal, I know, is one. I think the New York Times, and they all kind of at differing levels say, oh, alkaline water, there's no research. There's, it's don't waste your money. They go and talk to nutritionists and MDs who don't know anything about it, right? They don't know about the molecular hydrogen. They don't know about now it's over 1,000 peer-reviewed papers documenting therapeutic benefit in 170 different disease models and health conditions. They don't know that, right? They just think alkaline water is this stuff you can go buy at Whole Foods in the bottled water section, and you can.
Yeah, well, and that's another thing though, Jay, like, can I actually buy healthy water in a plastic bottle. I mean, we're talking about microplastics, like 85% they say of our water sources have microplastics in it. The tests are showing microplastics are everywhere. I mean, one of the best innovations and curses of our existence as human beings is plastic. So I just think if I buy a bottle that is alkalized or ionized or anything in a plastic bottle, doesn't that kind of like negate the purpose? It just kind of seems, I don't know, it just seems not right. How do you get around that?
You buy something in glass. There are some great waters available in glass, but I mean, your point is so salient. It's not just bad for us, the microplastics, and now there are even nanoplastics.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Let's make it even worse.
microplastics as a kind of, contaminant du jour hit the scene a couple years ago. And at that time, they were being measured down to 3 microns. And now they're sub-micron. And so, yeah, that's a tough problem, but there are lots of there's natural alkaline waters. Fiji is slightly alkaline, but then they put it in that plastic, you know, container and ship it across the Pacific Ocean.
Yeah, and
So
who knows how long it's been sitting on the shelf of your grocery store either.
yeah, I don't need to wax on about, plastic bottled water, but it's kind of like that whole idea that I said, water first has to be clean to be really truly healthy. So the molecular hydrogen is a property that can't be bottled. It's because it's so small, right? You think of carbonation.
Mm.
When you pour a carbonated beverage and you see those big bubbles coming out of it, think of molecular hydrogen is infinitesimally smaller than carbon dioxide, and it off gases. It's just like carbon dioxide. You take a glass that's rich in hydrogen, molecular hydrogen that's dissolved into the water, it's eventually just going to off gas out. And it's so small, it will go through plastic. It will even go through glass. It'll go through the cap because the cap's always the weakest part. So yes, you can buy bottled alkaline water, but it won't have the negative ionization property and it won't have any molecular hydrogen.
Mm.
There are specialized pouches and even aluminum containers that there are companies bottling hydrogen water now, and you can see that in your health food stores and Whole Foods. And Whole Foods sometimes has it, sometimes doesn't, depends on where you are, But yeah, those properties are extremely difficult to keep in the water. So they're temporary properties. And that's why you want to drink the water fresh right out of the machine, because all those properties are at their peak, right? So
Right, exactly. Well, and I know you guys have this, you sent this to me, which I haven't plugged in or anything just yet, but I did fill it up with some water, is this new H2 water. It's a hydrogen water bottle. And this is one of the new things that your company has coming out that I can actually bring with me when I travel, which sounds exciting to me because it's the one thing that when I leave, I'm like, "God, I want my water." I don't have my alkalized water. So this being the hydrogen water bottle, tell me a little bit about how this jammy works. What is this?
so it's the same core technology as our electric ionizers, the devices I was talking about before, just pivoted slightly to focus on the specific property of increasing the dissolved hydrogen in the water. And so it uses a membrane exactly like a fuel cell for, powering various things that they're using hydrogen fuel cells for, except it's kind of tweaked a little bit. They use water and um, and the membrane to make electricity. We're using water and electricity and the membrane to just focus on making the hydrogen. at a much higher level. It's interesting, Sue, those properties that I was talking about, the alkalinity, the ionization, the molecular hydrogen, everybody knows there are these magical curative springs around the world, right? That like have this healing water.
Mhm.
When people drink it, whatever ails them goes away. Lourdes is probably one of the most famous. There's other springs, one in Mexico and Tlacote, there's a really, really excellent one up in Idaho called Trinity Springs. And they're all over the place. Vilcabamba, Ecuador, Germany, Japan. And
Mhm.
when you evaluate that water for its chemistry, um, water scientists can look at those waters and see these common properties that are different than the water coming out of our tap or out of bottles. And that is that the water's clean first. It tends to be all these sources are underground aquifers. In the case of Trinity Springs, for example, it's 2.2 miles deep in the sawtooth batholith up in Idaho. And there's nothing in the water, a little bit of trace of natural fluoride, and that's about it. But the water comes out of the ground naturally alkaline, ionized with a negative ionization property, and then has levels of dissolved molecular hydrogen in it. So those sources like Trinity Springs and elsewhere around the world have very low levels of all those things. Unlike this is like turbocharging the water. You can get probably, I don't know, in the magnitude of 100 times the amount of molecular hydrogen
Mhm.
drinking it in a concentrated form like this. I've personally got this bottle up over 6 parts per million of hydrogen. And out of the machine, you might be, in the right ideal conditions, you might be able to get 1 part per million. So, and interestingly, with hydrogen, there's research that is starting to suggest that with hydrogen, more of it actually is better. So I supplement with this.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're an athlete, you cycling and alpine skiing. I would imagine that having, like drinking hydrogen water would actually improve performance. Are there research studies on that,
Oh,
or do you find
yeah.
that?
There's a whole realm of sports related. It increases or decreases recovery time, which makes your recovery better, right? Increases time to failure, and there's a bunch of human studies, and there was a study done on elite endurance athletes that showed their time to lactate threshold, all these things that the sports scientists measure get improved. It improves mitochondrial function, which is what powers your cells. And yeah, there's a whole bunch of studies on the performance.
Yeah, it kind of feels like even from the inside out, I just think people who are dealing with illness or cancers or things like that also would benefit from taking in water that has an increased amount of hydrogen in it. It seems like it would be a healing property in the body.
100%. There's even some, we can't talk about cancer, but the original buzz around alkaline water was inside of the cancer community, people that were living on death sentences from their oncologists who were desperate, and they were looking for different ways. And there have been MDs and other healers who have known for years how to cure cancer, which
Mhm.
is you have to oxygenate the tissues. There
Yeah.
was work done in the 30s by a scientist who won a Nobel Prize. He showed that basically that cancer cells couldn't survive in an oxygen-rich environment, but they
Is
were
that like a hyperbaric chamber or something like that?
kind of, yeah, similar. The cancer cells conversely, while they couldn't survive in an oxygen-rich environment, they thrived in an acidic environment, right?
Mhm.
So the blood, the primary job of the blood is to carry oxygen, right? It's at the absolute apex of our biological needs for life is oxygen. And so when medical scientists, doctors know this, that when your blood becomes acidic, right, it's slightly alkaline at 7.365. So seven's neutral, it's just slightly elevated at 7.365. When blood is healthy and in that slightly alkaline state, it can pick up oxygen, travel through the circulatory system out to the single wall capillaries and deliver that oxygen to the tissues, right? When your blood is acidic, and this is why they monitor blood pH when you're in an ambulance or a Medic 1 headed to a trauma center or something, because they know that if the blood pH tanks, your brain's not going to get oxygen, you're going to be dead. You'll be brain dead, right? So that's a standard thing they monitor. And medical science measures the blood's ability to pick up oxygen as the oxygen hemoglobin association curve. That's the ability of the blood to pick it up. And then they can measure the blood's ability to release the oxygen, which is the dissociation curve, oxygen hemoglobin dissociation curve. And so this stuff's been known for a long time, right? So the early people that were into alkalizing the body to beat cancer were after delivering more oxygen to their oxygen-starved tissues to eradicate to oxygenate the cells that had the cancer in them.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, with our medical system, the doctors that know that and who know how to do that in an intense way, they can reverse stage 4 cancers, and not in all cases, but in a lot of.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
unfortunately, they're all practicing in Ecuador and Costa Rica and Mexico and places where they don't have to deal with our crazy system.
Well, I mean, I think our even the medical industry, I shared with you, like my mom broke her femur, and you first she's in the hospital for 9 days, barely moving. Then you bring her to a physical therapy / nursing home to do their 30 minutes, and I do the quoting, 30 minutes of PT a day, which is timed from the point when the physical therapist leaves the physical therapy room, walks to her room to get her, she decides she needs to pee, so there's 10 minutes, and then strolls her back to the PT room, and maybe they stand her up for all of 4.5 minutes. And I said to her, if you want to walk again, Mom, I'm coming in here and we're going to raise hell, and I'm going to put you in the physical therapy room myself, and we're going to do our own physical therapy. So, like they're all watching me and like, does she work here? Kind of a thing. And I think to myself,
melt your mom.
Yeah.
Melt your mom, Sue.
Yeah, it's but it's a racket in the sense of even she had a cough, and we had a chest scan, and the chest scan came out clear. And then her doctor messages back that she might, here's exactly the word, she might be at the early stages of pneumonia. So we're going to give her an antibiotic. And I'm like, hell no, you're not going to give her an antibiotic. So I kind of pushed back and I said, she is feeling better over the last couple of days. The cough has subsided. The scan did come back clear. So why would we give Mom an antibiotic, which would just mess her up even more with her mind and her gut and cause more trouble? But he's a really open doctor. I mean, I love this guy. A big shout out to Elias Shaheen. He's just the bomb. And he says, well, she's feeling better. Yeah, hold off. I mean, you've got the antibiotics. If it gets worse, the first sign you see it worse, go ahead and give it to her. But he backed down right away. And I think to myself, are we educated enough to even push back to doctors on any medical, whatever symptom that we have? Are we asking the questions? And it's the same thing with our water, because you've hit this a few times, Jay, as you're saying, first, you want to have clean water to begin with. And our agricultural world and the pollutants from agriculture and from industrial pollutants are just, they're killing us slowly. And I'm certain that the pipes in America, at least, and I'm sure all around the world, are ancient and never been fixed, right? I mean, there's probably rust in so much of the pipes. So even if they
That's
clean
what
the
happened.
water,
That was part of the issue in Flint and the other places that have had, the
yeah,
issues with lead. Yeah, the New York Times did an incredible series. I believe the guy won a Pulitzer for it. It was a series on the issues with water. It was like a 6 or 8 part series, and you can Google it and find it. And in that, he cited research that showed more than half of our nation's, infrastructure, water infrastructure is failing. And the other thing to consider is, it's the EPA monitor or is responsible for enforcing the Safe Water Drinking Act, which was enacted in 72 or something. And when they enacted that legislation, they regulated 91 chemicals. There's been over 2,200 documented things found in public water supplies, but they
that's
regulated
shocking.
only 91 of them. And that's all that I think there's only been a handful, small handful, maybe 4 or 6 things added to that list since the 70s. Crazy, right? Chromium-6, the villain chemical in the movie Aaron Brockovich that poisoned all those people in Hinckley, California, that's under review, and it's been under review since that movie came out.
Yeah, what are they reviewing? Are they just reviewing how to manage it? Because that's the thing, is if they actually document, yeah, our pipes are really so bad that it's like even if we cleaned up the water, we would need to infrastructure, and that's trillions of dollars. So for them to flat out admit that there's something wrong and then say we can't fix it because we don't have the money because we spend trillions of dollars on other countries and we're not even bothering with our own infrastructure of our own, what do we do?
You got to take control of it yourself. That's the only answer. The municipal treatment, county, the treatment people they don't have the technology to remove arsenic or chromium-6. So it's not even getting removed when they treat the water. Water
Yeah.
treatment really is pretty much focused for the most part on making it microbiologically safe so that we don't have what they have in the third world, where people are dying because they're getting dysentery from drinking the water, right? But those treatment facilities can't remove the chemicals, and then the water travels through these antiquated systems. It's just like, what are you supposed to do? Go buy bottled water and then make mountains of plastic, or even glass? No, you gotta, we had for a while, our slogan was take back your tap, you know,
Yeah.
take control at your tap. So our filtration technology, it's certainly the best filter technology in the ionizer industry. I personally think it's one of the best, if not the best, filtration technologies available in the water space. It's tested incredible third-party EPA certified labs against 249 contaminants, including, and we add continuously. Like a couple of years ago, we added glyphosate, the chemical in Roundup, because that was a big deal. And
Yeah.
it's like we've tested the PFOAs and POFs, and that's the forever chemicals that were another one of the du jours, and then it just goes on and on and on, and yeah, it's crazy, but
Well,
you know,
well, you've got like the alkalized filtration system that I have from AlkaViva is the Delphi unit. So it's under my counter with this spout. And so, everybody who's listening, if you can imagine, there's 2 spouts on it. And this thing spits out alkaline water on one side and acidic water on another, or you could have both of them and just filtered water, right? I could, if I press filtered water comes out of both. But, one of my friends said, well, all that water you're wasting in the acidic side. I said, oh, I don't waste it. I have a catch filter. I catch the water and then I take that water, and my plants love the alkalized water. And I think to myself,
They
isn't,
love the acidic. They
I'm
love the,
sorry, the acidic water, exactly,
yeah.
the acidic water. And I kind of equate that to like rainwater, that it's cleaner rainwater than the rainwater coming from the sky. I don't know if that's true, but why do they thrive on the acidic water?
Because, yeah, you hit the nail right on the head. Rainwater, it tends to be less than 7 pH.
Mm.
And so, yeah, a lot of, there are desert, drought tolerant plants that will tolerate alkaline water, because there are places where that naturally occurs. But for the most part, plants like acidic water because rainwater is acidic.
And what about like on our skin? Is the acidic water good to use on skin or hair or anything
It's
like
an
that?
astringent, and the skin loves an astringent. In fact, if you look at any beauty product, I don't care whether it's hair, face, whatever, and it's got water as an ingredient, I would venture to guess 9 out of 10 times it's either going to say deionized water or purified water. They're kind of the same thing. Deionized water is just a higher level of purified water where all the ions are taken out of the water. And what happens to water when that happens is it becomes acidic, and it acquires that astringent property due to its acidic nature. And the skin is an acid-loving organ.
Hmm.
It
Yeah,
likes
makes
that
sense.
astringent nature of the acidic water. And in Asia, where these devices, started in the 80s, they call it beauty water. And
Right.
yeah, yeah.
Where do you see the industry, the water filtration technology industry? What do you see the future of it as becoming?
Of, functional water that is transformed through these technologies to be cleaner than it is typically available now, and healthier, transformed to offer, documented therapeutic benefits in just a glass of water.
Hmm.
It's like, why wouldn't you want to drink water like that? It's just superior. And
Yeah.
yeah, you give your body, I mean, look, we're like Mother Earth, you look at the how much water is on Earth, it's like 70%. And that, give or take, some percentage depending on your personal level of hydration and your age and a few factors, we're about 70% water. And so if you increase the quality of the water that you put into your body, it's just going to naturally increase the quality of your health.
Yeah, makes sense. So what advice would you give somebody who's maybe just looking for the first time to improve their water quality at home? What is the first step of that, of saying, hey, if I were you, I would what to improve the water quality at your home?
Well, I'd say one thing requisite to that, which is the first thing, is drink more water. I don't care what kind of water it is, just drink more water. 75%, depending on what study you read, of Americans are dehydrated, and your body doesn't work properly when it's not hydrated. It's like oil in a gas engine, right? Can you run a gas engine with no oil? Yeah, you sure can. Is it
Yeah.
good for it? Will it
No.
break it down over time? Heck
Yeah.
yeah. Right. So just first thing I'd say is to everybody is just drink more water. Then work on improving the quality of your water. Go after clean first. And, there's this whole thing about purified water. Oh, purified water, it's purified of contaminants. Well, guess what? That's good. But it's also bad because that purification process is indiscriminate. And unfortunately, it removes the other things in water, the naturally occurring minerals like calcium and magnesium primarily, that water needs to have conductivity. Look, your body operates through metabolism at a cellular level, right? And then the cells form into tissues, which form into organs, which everything happens through metabolism. Water is the medium through which metabolism occurs in the body,
Mhm.
right? So if you're dehydrated, your body isn't going to metabolize properly. It's not going to perform its function at its highest level. And so the idea after you properly hydrate then is to drink water that's clean. You don't want to drink purified water. It's acidic and mineral free. No conductivity for that metabolism to take place inside the mitochondria. It needs that. We used to work with a doctor who said, your body doesn't even recognize pure water because pure water doesn't exist in nature. Even rainwater has some dissolved mineral content that it picks up through the atmosphere. And so you need water that conducts. You need water that is contaminant free. And there are a lot of good, you know, unfortunately, some of them are in plastic, you know, but like everybody travels. I travel. When I travel, I go through security. You can't take water through. So I'll buy Fiji or a good spring water that is filtered, not purified, because then it's going to be basically contaminant free, but with the naturally occurring minerals. Then the next step would be to get water that's clean and transformed to have these properties like molecular hydrogen and the ionization. That would be the kind of the stair step I'd look at. Drink more water, drink clean water, drink water that offers you some beneficial functional transformation. So.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So what are the upcoming pursuits for AlkaViva? I know that, you got this H2 water device that you guys are bringing out. What's shaking in the AlkaViva world?
Oh, this is another cool thing. Same technology
Oh
as,
yeah, I have one of those. I love it.
yeah. And
Germ
so
blaster.
it's electrochemistry, just like in all of our other machines, and the same core technology. You take tap water and salt, and the salt changes the chemistry equation, and you're actually creating something called hyperchlorous acid, which is 80 times stronger than chlorine bleach. You can look that up.
Mhm.
And so it's an incredible, we can claim with this product legally because we went through the EPA testing, hospital grade disinfection and sanitization. So it kills little critters, but it's also an incredible surface cleaner, better than Simple Green or 409. And watch this,
Uh-huh.
I can spray it in my mouth and
Yeah.
swallow and not
Yeah.
try that with Lysol.
Yeah, it's kind of remarkable. And I mean, it really is one of the best cleaners I've had. You gave that to me uh really early on. And when COVID was happening and everybody was putting bleach on everything, I was just spraying that thing all over the house. I just thought, I feel like I have backed myself up with these products.
Yeah, it's amazing. And the other thing that we have going on is we had a lot of people come to us and said, well, it's great that you have this fantastic filter and this device that I can drink my water out of, but what about like, washing my clothes and taking baths and showers and, washing it. So now we're selling actual whole home systems that have our ultra water technology in it to clean up the water throughout your entire
That's
house.
my next big purchase. I mean, I know that these things are somewhat expensive. You're talking about dropping a few grand for a kitchen filtration, a whole house. These things run $2,000 to $5,000 or more, depending upon what you're doing. So, but I kind of feel like in the long run, how much is your health worth?
Well, and it's even like if you're doing the 5-gallon home delivered jugs, like a lot of people in Florida and SoCal and Arizona, that's how they get their water, or you're buying bottled water at Costco, or, I won't say a crappy fridge filter because that's just not protecting you. A refrigerator filter, a Brita filter, they're not even fully removing the chlorine, let alone heavy metals or anything like that. But when you
Mhm.
compare the cost of our machine amortized over 10 years, it's a bargain. It's like
Yeah.
7 cents a gallon or something compared to more than that for the other
Yeah,
options.
and I just think for anybody who colors their hair, you must realize that you wash your hair once and all of a sudden your color is different. And so if that doesn't say something about the water quality, I don't know what else does. So
That's chemistry, baby.
that's a vanity thing for sure for anybody who puts, coloring in their hair. So Jay, we're coming to the end of this. If somebody wants to find out more about AlkaViva, how are they going to find out about it?
Don't they go to your website and click your AlkaViva link off to your AlkaViva site?
That's it. Yeah. Yeah. I actually have it on mine as well. Yeah. And you can find out all about, I mean, like AlkaViva has so many different styles and different above the counter, under the counter products. And again, this whole home system that you guys now have is the thing I'm scouting out for myself right now. So Jay, question I ask everybody at the end of Anatomical Gangster, I'm going to pose to you. If you could tell somebody something that you know that most people might not know anything about, but it changed your life, and just thinking something different, it might change theirs. What's something that you've learned that other people don't know, but if they could, it might change the course of their life?
Well, that's easy. I probably already said it a few different ways on this call. I would drink more high quality water
Yeah.
because I was pretty dang healthy when I found David and this company and this water. And like I said, I'm sensitive. I'm aware. At the time I was I wouldn't say I was elite, but I was an endurance athlete at a pretty high level. And when I started, I was drinking home delivered RO water, reverse osmosis, purified water, acidic, mineral free. And I started drinking this water and I could immediately I could feel it and had a number of different physiological changes that yeah, changed the course. I mean,
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I love it. I'm so glad that I discovered you from your wife when I did the dissection with Tom Myers, and your wife came to that. That was just awesome. So thank you for being part of my world of healing, genuine appreciation for coming back on Anatomical Gangster again. I appreciate it.
water is just an overlooked foundation of any health and wellness and longevity program. It just is.
Yeah, of course. I mean, our connective tissue, our fascia that I always talk about, this is such a fluid system, and collagen, which is that primary protein in fascia, needs the water molecule to bind and give it its strength so that it can move and has its elastic quality. So, a big tip from Jay, drink more water, but I would also say sip water more frequently and eat more water-filled foods to keep that hydration moving, and then you get all of the good nutrients in your body as well. I think all of this is very sage advice from you. So Jay, thank you so much for hanging out with me again and talking to me. I hope everybody has enjoyed this conversation with Jay Hare, and you check out the AlkaViva. And of course, make sure that you subscribe to the podcast below, and I will see you next week for another brilliant conversation with another smart person, hopefully to change the way you view your health and well-being. We'll see you soon. Well, I hope that you enjoyed that conversation with Jay Hare, and I hope that you listen to him and you sip more water frequently, you eat more water-filled foods, and you consider your water and the cleanliness of that water and fight for our water rights here in America and worldwide. Thanks again for being part of this podcast. Make sure you subscribe, and I will see you all again soon. See you later.